Everybody, welcome.
Unmute everybody.
The
See you
first
guys.
day of May. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Lexington. Thank you to RG for taking the Zoom duties, and welcome to everybody on Zoom. Here for our pledge, four-way test, and inspiration, Sharon Reed.
Thank you, Brett. The pledge first.
Okay.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and our four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. All right. Can you hear me? Okay. Many of you have probably. Thank you. Thank you. Many of you have probably driven down a road called Oliver Lewis Way. And you've probably seen another road called Aristides. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Oliver Lewis was the first African-American jockey who rode the colt Aristides and won the very first Kentucky Derby on May 17th, 1875. He was 19 years old. The race was held at the Louisville Jockey Club, which is now Churchill Downs. And I have adapted a Derby prayer. So if you will bow your head. We are thankful for this special weekend. May blessings be upon all participants, the horses, the jockeys, the fans, and those behind the scenes. We hope for safety, good sportsmanship, and celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. And to introduce guests, I'll have Tom Merritt come up. And before he does, I'd like to point out a new Rotarian who helps us out with our bookkeeping is Dorothy May. Here, Dorothy, will you please stand up? Dorothy's been an outstanding addition to our accounting efforts. Thank you, Dorothy. Tom?
I have an easy job today. Because there are so many guests, it's going to take a little time to read everyone's name. So would all the guests please rise and stand and let us welcome you. Thank you very much. You picked the right day to come, I can tell you that. And we have a visiting Rotaract member, Jay Phillips. Welcome, Jay. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tom. And for the lottery, and as we did last time, we got the lottery ready to go. As we bring the lottery up here, okay, there you are. And our lunch sponsor, DG with Aging with Grace, gets a 10-second. Now, if you sponsor lunch, she's going to sponsor May. She's sponsoring May. She gets 6 lunch tickets, a 10-second elevator pitch here at the podium, and a table right next to the lottery to come in. So consider that for future months. I give you DG.
Hello, I won't take long. I just wanted to let you know about a special thing that we do for people. It's called At-Home Health Help. And with At-Home Health Help services, you can have a personal assistant in your home for however many hours you desire per day, 1 day a week, every day a week. And that way you can age in place with grace. DG with Aging with Grace, and let's see what we've got here. 2 tickets.
I'll have to know.
Okay, I've got 152-1671,
Last 4 digits.
1671.
Hello. Queen of Spades.
Queen of Spades.
And go ahead and read the other.
And the other one, so you can be making your way, is 1678.
Oh. Thank you for playing. Peggy.
Peggy. Thank you for playing. Thank you for your donation. Here's Brett.
Thank you, DG, with Aging with Grace, and Gordon, thanks for pinch hitting. Celebrating birthdays today, Eileen O'Brien. Are you here today, Eileen? Bill Wilson, Michael Thompson, and Larry Spell on 3. Last verse, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Don't forget about the birthday club. All right, some announcements. They were so good the first time. We're bringing them back for an encore. Jamie Schrader, Jim Richardson, Bill Wilson, and Dean Hammond. We're calling them the Fab Four. First order of business in their presidency, they're putting together a survey. That's going to go out on May 13th. That's our 3rd Thursday. We want to get an understanding of where the direction of the club and where this club wants to see itself. Following that, the next week on Wednesday, May 21st, we're having a town hall. There'll be some rules, some more details, but plan to be at the 46 Solutions in Lexington Green at 6 o'clock. And the town hall will start promptly at 6:30. Membership, boy, we had, Marcus, we had an amazing membership social at the Thirsty Fox, a great crowd, really high quality candidates. And that's what Rotary is about, is high quality individuals giving back to the community. Great job there. We'll be looking to do that again in the very near future. Dancing with the Stars is only 9 days away. We've been sold out for weeks. And there are still 2 ways for Rotarians to participate. One is, how many bottles of bourbon? We're targeting 50, and we got about half of that. So if you didn't bring one today, you've got next week, and that's it. And you could bring them to the club meeting next week. We need another $25, $50 priced $50 bottles of bourbon or better. Bring 2, or you can bring them to the Rotary office. And the other way is, we've been sold out for weeks. There's no tickets available. But if you volunteer, you can come in, and we've got great food and great accommodations and a little bit of work for people who want to participate in our biggest fundraiser of the year. Great job to the committee. The committee is meeting directly after this meeting, and we're bringing it home. I think our sponsorship, our goal, we came in at just about 98% of our sponsorship goal. We're in really good position and hoping for a few more things to come our way. So really exciting things for Dancing with the Lexington Stars. Mark your calendars. Around the world in Lexington, a tasting at the Signature Club, June 11th. That's Wednesday, June 11th. Stay tuned for more details on that. If you'd like to participate in that or that committee, we are meeting with Guns of Fire. So contact me after the meeting. Last but not least, the 5th Thursday in May, social event, social chair with the mostest. Susan, you're doing an amazing job. We're at the Lexington Legends. That's the date and everything. It's the 5th Thursday. So what is the date on that? May 29th. And we've got the Legends suite, so no cost to attend, and there'll be an open bar and food available for purchase. So we'll hope to see you at the ballpark. And now, our favorite part of the meeting, where we get to introduce our fabulous speaker. And here to do that is Matt Tabb.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests alike. It is a beautiful day and a special time here in the Bluegrass where thoroughbred racing takes center stage. And it's only fitting that we have hit a daily double with our speakers today. First, I'd like to introduce Shannon Arvin, Keeneland's 8th president and CEO. In 2002, Shannon began practicing law with Stoll Keenan Ogden here in Lexington, where she represented many thoroughbred owner and industry associations and later served in corporate counsel roles to Keeneland. Among her numerous professional and community involvements, Shannon is chair of the National Thoroughbred Racing Association and is a trustee of the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association. She also serves on the board, she also serves as president of the board of the Lexington School. Shannon has several notable ties to Keeneland. Both her father and grandfather served in leadership roles at the prestigious race course. Her late father, William Buddy Bishop, was also a partner at Stoll Keenan Ogden, working with Shannon until his passing in 2008. Shannon completed her undergraduate studies at the University of North Carolina and later graduated from the University of Kentucky College of Law in 2002. Shannon and her husband, Will, have 2 daughters, Bishop and McCutcheon. I'd also like to introduce you to the voice of the Kentucky Wildcats, Tom Leach. Tom has called games for the University of Kentucky for over 25 years. During that time, Tom has been at the mic for many memorable moments, including our 2012 College Basketball National Championship, and had the call of the 2019 Citrus Bowl game, which marked Kentucky's first 10-win season in over 40 years. Another component of Tom's broadcasting career is thoroughbred racing. He covers horse racing throughout the year through his association with Keeneland. Among his many honors and recognitions, Tom is a 2-time winner of the prestigious Eclipse Award for excellence in thoroughbred racing and coverage, a 6-time winner of the Kentucky Sportscaster of the Year Award. He's also been recognized as the 10th Region Hall of Fame member for his work with the Bourbon County Colonels and Paris Greyhounds. Through Tom Leach Productions, he hosts the Leach Report daily radio show and produces my personal favorite show, the Sunday Morning Sports Talk Show, both on WLAP here in Lexington. Tom is a 1983 graduate of the University of Kentucky and is married to Robin Rabbith. They have 2 children, Connor and Caroline. Please join me in welcoming Shannon Arvin and Tom Leach.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Derby Week. You'll tell by my picks today that I was influenced by a trip I took to Oaklawn for Arkansas Derby Day. And it was, I had been there when I was 12, when my grandfather ran the track, but I hadn't been there really in my adult life. And it's changed so much since the last time I was there. What I was so impressed by was the community there. It was the first track where I'd been where I thought, oh my gosh, they love racing almost as much as our Kentucky community loves racing. And I kept saying, Happy Arkansas Derby Day, but everybody there was saying Happy Derby Day, as if it was the Derby. So anyway, it was a great experience. I recommend getting to Oaklawn if you ever have a chance to do it. We are wrapping up a spring meet. We had kind of an unusual start. As many of you saw, we had a lot of rain headed our way, which I'm sure impacted everybody in this room. It's a different day. 6 years ago, I think our team would have looked at each other and said, it's an outdoor sport. Sometimes it rains. But we sat around and looked at each other and spent probably 8 hours in meetings, kind of going over all the what ifs and how could we do this? And if we pivot to Monday and Tuesday, and it quickly became clear that the right thing to do for our community, equine and human, and our patrons was to pivot and start on Sunday. So that's just what we did. Somebody on the news said, was this based on economics? I said, I promise you, it was not a decision that was made based on economics, but it was the right thing to do. And we ended up having a really tremendous meet with lots of sunny days. I wanted to share with you all an update on our paddock building. It doesn't look like that right now, but it's going to very, very soon. And it's looking more and more like that. We're excited to say. Here's what it looks like pretty much today. I was really excited that by the spring meet, we were able to have the stonework finished, almost finished on the facade, because I think it gives you a chance to see what it's going to look like and kind of see how it fits in. And hopefully that it looks as if it's always been there, that you can't tell which building was built when. Here is the new East Gate entry. So that's from the outside coming in. So people will be able to pass through there. Here's the limestone facade. You all may have heard me say before, we were able to use about 80% of the stone on the building that we took down, our administrative services building, and also in our drive-through bedding building. So this is actually the same stone that's been at Keeneland since 1936. There's a story about Jack Keene, who was the founder of Keeneland and from whom we bought the property back in the 1930s. And a guy that went to work for him said, I went to work for Mr. Keene, who was a horse trainer, to learn about horses and training. And all I'm doing is working with stone, because stone was so important to Jack Keene. And it remains very important to us today. Here is one of the rooms where we'll have dining and events. So you can see it's starting to take shape. When tickets go on sale, which will be soon, we will share all the names of the rooms and the different experiences that you'll be able to have in the building. And one of the things that I don't know that I anticipated being that excited about, but is really exciting, are the views when you're up on the rooftop, because you can see for miles around, and it's such quintessential, beautiful bluegrass views from up there. So that's a part I think we're all going to really enjoy. And of course, we are taking very good care of the sycamore, which is our prize tree. And there are really cool views of the sycamore from up there also. We still plan to be finished in the fall, so we are going to be open in the fall. This was our last of 3 race meets under construction. Thank goodness. Our team is really happy about that, and I think our patrons will be too. This is part of the historic building that we have renovated. There is going to be one new area for the clubhouse members in this building. And then our broadcast is also going in this building. So it's been fun to rip everything off the walls and find out what was under there. This is one of the coolest things that we found. We were doing a tour and we said, what is that on that steel beam up there? And it's actually the signature of Jack Keene, J.O. Keene, which had to be from the 1920s, 1930s. So we thought that was pretty cool. And interestingly, for historians, this might be interesting to you. He spelled his name without an E. And actually in the graveyard, there's still a little graveyard up by Keene Place on our grounds where his family is buried. It doesn't have the E either. But Keeneland, as you know, has the E. So our impact, we did an economic impact study last year just to kind of take a beat and think about how important Keeneland and the horse business really is to our community. And the numbers were pretty staggering. We have a $1.6 billion impact on Fayette and surrounding counties. Our sales, 67% of our sales participants come from outside the state, and 24% of our participants come from outside the United States. We actually have people from 52 countries who come to our sales, which is pretty staggering because they come to little Lexington, Kentucky, where we have the largest thoroughbred sales in the world. And then racing, 64% of our patrons come from outside of Kentucky. We also did a study on which states they come from. And there were 2 states we were missing. I think it was Alaska and Wyoming, but we've now hit them too. So all 50 states, we can say. Our thoroughbred auctions have a $1.16 billion impact, race meets 300 million, supporting business lines, 97.7 million. You know, you have to think, sometimes I think people don't understand that the industry is so broad and so deep. It's not just the owners and the trainers, it's the people who grow the feed and the people who cultivate the feed, and the whole cycle is what makes it work. It truly is an agricultural business. And then the new construction, that's not the cost of the construction, but that is the economic impact of the construction, $166.6 million. And I think it's exciting, particularly when people talk about the future of the sport, how much investment is going back into racing facilities. You know, NYRA in New York is building a new Belmont, which is a massive project, over 300 million. Churchill just announced a halt on their construction project, but I think they'll eventually do it. And that's $1 billion. I mean, there are a lot of people that really believe in the future because we're investing heavily. Our project is around 100 million. So it's an exciting time for thoroughbred racing. And then the tourism impact, of course. We work really closely with Visit Lex, and the mayor's office is very supportive. It's really critical that people understand when these people from the 50 states come to visit us and from more than 52 countries come to visit us, they're staying in our hotels and they're eating at our restaurants and they're patronizing all of the businesses that we have here. So those numbers are pretty large also with the tourism impact. 336 million for sales and 190 million for racing. We have a little video here. Does it show the video? It's okay if it doesn't, but. Show it later. We'll show it later. So who has seen the Netflix? Any of you seen the Netflix show, Race for the Crown? All right, so if you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. They called us about this probably 3 years ago, and it's a company called Box to Box, a production company, headed by a guy named Ian Sambor, who's an interesting guy in his own right. But they've done other sports focuses, including Formula One, Drive to Survive, Breakpoint, and Full Swing. I think the Formula One is probably the most inspiring to us because it introduces you to the characters of that sport. So there are men, women, and children I know who have never been interested in Formula One racing at all. Frankly, I haven't either. But after watching this, you do want to follow along and see what's happening. So this is a really cool adaptation of our sport, showing you the inner workings with owners and trainers and jockeys. And some of them, I've heard some people inside the business be critical of it, and it's probably not so much for them, but in terms of garnering new fans and showing some of the excitement that exists in our sport, I think it's incredible. It's definitely worth watching. It just came out April 22nd. It's 6 episodes, and hopefully we'll get renewed for another season. Yeah, I think. Let's see. This one?
Yep.
There's another one for Race for the Crown. We can try that one. This is a trailer.
Gotta be wired a little bit differently. One pump, 1,000-pound animal. 120 miles per hour with an ambulance chasing you. They do a very dangerous sport.
American racing revolves around Triple Crown. Their trainers, jockeys, and the others. There's unbelievable money in skating. I just lost my money. Look at us like we lost our minds. Spends $20+ million in parent horses. Just my slap math that I get tired of. Spec trainers so that the horse in the best position to win. Good horses take it all over the world. Marquard's fine the top horse. Trainers will be firing one jockey, hiring another. It's tough, right? There's not much loyalty.
Make me look good, will you?
Guys, welcome back to the place to play. What's this you can't?
I wasn't ready to retire. Rather die on a horse than die of boredom.
If you can win the Triple Crown, you're in the history books, you're a legend.
Obviously, the price money is huge. 36 shots all over the world to see who's really the best.
It's good. It's definitely worth the time to watch it. Okay, so now I hear everybody's interested in Derby and Oaks picks. And you probably want to hear Tom's more than you want to hear mine, but I'm going to give you mine anyway. Does it go back to the? It's okay. That's all right. On to Oaks and Derby. So you all probably know that every time I stand up here, I tell you that this is the year that an Ashland or Bluegrass Stakes winner is going to win the Oaks and the Derby. And I'm sticking to it because I still think that each of them has a big shot this year. I think Tom might have picked both of them too. So La Cara is owned and bred by Tracy and Carol Farmer. Some of you may know them. They are local Kentucky people that must be the dream of a lifetime to breed an awesome horse, much less a contender for the Kentucky Oaks. She did win at Keeneland on Ashland Monday, which has never happened before, but she did, and we had a great celebration. It would be tremendous for them to win. I also like Quiet Side. Again, I think impacted by my trip to Arkansas, but I watched her win down there, and I think she has a big shot. For the Derby, again, Burnham Square, who won the Bluegrass Stakes, I think has a big shot. He's a cool horse with a cool story. The guy who trains him is Ian Wilkes. He's an Australian, a tremendous guy. He and his wife, Tracy, are just great people. And he worked for Carl Nafsker, who some of you may remember bred Unbridled. And if you haven't seen the video of Carl Nafsker watching Unbridled win the Kentucky Derby with Miss Gintner, who is the owner, if it doesn't make you happy, then I'm sorry for you, because it is just like this moment of pure elation and joy when she's winning, and the trainer was so happy for her. Well, Carl is Ian's mentor, and he's getting on in age, and it would just be a great story. And he also happens to be a descendant of Unbridled, which also ties it together really neatly. Tistastic, I think it's time for Steve Asmussen to win the Kentucky Derby. I think he's got a big shot. He won the Louisiana Derby. Coal Battle, again, probably from my trip to Arkansas, I was talking to the trainer Lonnie Briley, who's a great guy from Louisiana, 72-year-old. The horse was bred here, purchased at a Texas sale for $72,000. Kind of the neat story that could set up really well for the Kentucky Derby. After the Arkansas Derby, where he came in third, I was talking to him after. He said, I know what I did wrong. We'll get it the next time. And I kind of believed him. So Sandman won the Arkansas Derby that day. I think he's got a big shot. And then Owen Almighty is another one that I threw in there. I don't know that I'd put him on top. In fact, his trainer, Brian Lynch, was hesitant to even run him because he's not sure. But the owner said, nope, we're all in. We're going to try it. He won the Tampa Bay Derby as his prep. And I think he's a cool horse too. So those are my shots, all of whom have a really good story. Tom, who do you think is going to win?
Couple of little funny nuggets before we get into this. Number one, hopefully on the opening of the Keeneland meet, you were betting exactas. That's what I advised my friends to do, because I figured the animals had to be pairing up in twos at that point. Mike Rapoli is featured in that Race to the Crown series, which I would echo Shannon's comments. It is really good. I'm halfway through it at the moment, so the next one, which I'll probably watch this evening, I hope, is about the Derby, and then the following one that finish it up are about the Preakness and the Belmont. Mike Rapoli, who's featured in that trailer, is a hardcore New York guy. Last year had the Derby favorite in Fierceness, and so when they finished the post position draw on the Saturday before the Derby, all the reporters congregate around the different owners and trainers and jockeys. And the group that was around Mike Rapoli, as I walked up to listen in, they were asking him about St. John's players. And one of the racing reporters said, why are they asking you about the St. John's players? And he said, well, I bought them. Which it's okay to say now. And he did. He's the Joe Kraft of St. John's. And they did quite well this season, so they spent their money wisely for Coach Patino. Let's start with the Derby. And to continue the college basketball analogy, and I figure there's a little bit of college basketball knowledge in this room. If you think of the Derby like you would think of the men's basketball tournament for the NCAA, I think this is a year for one of the 1 seeds to win it. Been pretty good sized prices in recent years. There was a long stretch of favorites from like 13 through and 20, but the last 3 years have been some big prices. $39 and change for Mystic Dan last year. Rich Strike blew up the tote board before that. I think it's one of the 1 seeds this year. And in the NCAA tournament, they have 4 1 seeds. I had my 4 until Tappan Street was injured and was declared out of the race earlier this week. So I don't know, I'm not sure who the other 1 seed would be. Might be Sandman. But the 3 that I'm sure are my 1 seeds are Journalism, the winner of the Santa Anita Derby, Sovereignty, the runner-up in the Florida Derby, and Burnham Square, the winner of the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes at Keeneland. I think one of those 3 is going to win the Derby, and 2 of them aren't getting bet as much as they should be at the moment, Burnham Square and Sovereignty in the early betting. Journalism still the favorite, but the Derby has so many, it's much more coverage than any other race. And so there are some neat stories around these horses and around Sandman and why he's going to likely be the second choice in the wagering. He is right now, and I think that will stick. And he'll be, I think, close to being the favorite for 2 reasons. Number one, he's named for the song Enter Sandman by Metallica. And the band sent Mark Cassey, the trainer, and his whole barn t-shirts recently. And they took a picture of all the barn crew in their Metallica t-shirts. And the other thing is that one of the horse's owners that was brought in by the original ownership group, I believe, is a guy, I can't remember his name at the moment. I'm not deeply into TikTok, I must say. But he is a TikTok influencer, which much like buying basketball players is a phrase, a TikTok influencer is not something I ever saw myself saying 20 years ago, but it pays well. And this gentleman has 17 million followers. And so they say this week down at Churchill in the mornings on the backside, there's all kinds of young people wearing Sandman hats. And so that's great for thoroughbred racing to build new interest among young people. So that's exciting. And so for that reason, it's a good reason to root for Sandman. But the 3 that I like, Burnham Square came from dead last when he won the Bluegrass Stakes. And early in the meet, the track had taken so much water that the horses coming from way back weren't having as much success early in the meet. And yet he bucked that trend and passed everybody in the field and got his nose down at the wire to win the Bluegrass Stakes. Shannon mentioned the mentorship with Carl Nasker. Interesting angle here is that Carl had a tremendous knack for pointing one horse for one race. Did it with Unbridled. He finished 3rd in the Bluegrass and peaked on Derby Day. And that's the thing about my comparison to college basketball, I'll detour just a second. For college basketball coaches, I always think like they're like Derby trainers because, and this is more true now than ever with all the transfer portal, you get one chance with each team. And then a bunch of them are going to leave and a bunch of them are going to come in. So you get one chance with each team, like you get one chance with every 3-year-old. And the 3-year-old has to be peaking at the right time and has to stay healthy. And that's kind of what you have to do to win the NCAA tournament. So Carl Nasker was brilliant at doing that with Unbridled, and he did it again with Street Sense. And Street Sense ran 2nd in the Bluegrass Stakes. It's kind of a theme there. Unbridled, Street Sense, both prepped in the Bluegrass, as does Burnham Square. Ian Wilkes, longtime relationship with Carl Nasker, knows how to point one horse for one race. And I think Burnham Square's got a big shot. He's trained spectacularly. Sovereignty's trained by a Hall of Famer, Bill Mott, horse that in his 3rd lifetime start was still a maiden, meaning he hadn't won a race yet. And Bill Mott ambitiously placed him in a stakes race at Churchill Downs, and he won it by 5. So the fact that Bill Mott put him in that race suggests to me a high level of confidence in the horse that's been justified by what has happened since. So I think Sovereignty has got a big shot. And then Journalism, I was set to pick against the favorite. I usually try to find a way to pick against the favorite. even though they pay more in the Derby than they do in a typical race because you have 20 horses. But I was pretty much set that I was going to go against journalism. And the reason primarily was that he'd only raced, he's been in, I think 5 races, 4 of them against fields in which he faced only 4 rivals. He did have one time when he faced 9, but basically it would be like playing a softer schedule. He didn't have to face a lot of adversity in 5-horse fields until the Santa Anita Derby. And he drew the 1 hole and everybody knew he was the horse to beat. So the other jockeys are trying to ride strategically against him. So he's trapped in a box down along the rail pretty much for the entirety of the race until they get to the home stretch. Meanwhile, there's a horse named Baeza's in the race. He's on the also eligible list. If a horse should scratch between now and 9 tomorrow morning, Baeza would get to run. But Baeza is an excellent horse, just got started late on his Derby campaign and hasn't accumulated enough points to get in. But a very good horse, and they had to train him with every ounce of skill that the trainer had to get him to win the Santa Anita Derby, because that was really their only shot to get into the Kentucky Derby. And he opens up several links on the field in the stretch and looks like he's home free. And all of a sudden, journalism extricates himself from this trap that he's in and gets out in the clear. And in about 2 strides, the first thing that popped into my mind is that scene from Jaws where Robert Shaw says, you're going to need or Roy Schneider says, you're going to need a bigger boat. And Baeza needed a bigger boat. Journalism ran past him and won. And I was just so impressed with that. And the horse just looks so magnificent on the track, and a big, robust horse that looks to be training spectacularly. So journalism is my pick to win it. Sovereignty and Burnham Square are the strongest contenders to me. I think one of those 3 wins it. There are a couple of long shots that I think are a little intriguing. 3 of them, actually. Tistastic is one of them. He made a big improvement when he got to run farther than 1 mile and 1/8 for the first time in the Louisiana Derby, and he gets to run even farther in this race. So I think that plays to his strength. The other 2 are horses that will be up close early. One of them is the runner-up in the Bluegrass Stakes. East Avenue was one of the top 2-year-olds. In fact, was the favorite for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last fall after a debut win at Ellis Park, came to Keeneland and won the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity impressively and went to the Breeders' Cup as the favorite. And he fell to his knees coming out of the gate and didn't get to run his race and finished up the track. So they regrouped, sent him down to New Orleans, and he ran horribly. But he comes to Keeneland and he looks like the horse that we saw as a 2-year-old and just gets nipped at the wire by Burnham Square. And I think that race has to do a world of good because he couldn't have gotten much out of the Risen Star with the way it unfolded. So I think East Avenue is a horse at a big price that has a big shot to hit the board, outside chance to win, but to definitely hit the board in the Kentucky Derby. The horse named Sea Hero back in 1993 that was a top 2-year-old, and they sent him to Florida and he hated it. Too hot for him, I don't know, whatever. But he came to Kentucky and he loved it, and he started to blossom and get better every week and get better every day. And he won the Kentucky Derby for a great Kentuckian from over in Versailles, Mac Miller. Gave him his only Kentucky Derby. So maybe East Avenue is another reincarnation of Sea Hero. And then the other long shot I like is Bob Baffert, one of his 2. It's Citizen Bull, who's the horse out of the 1 hole, which everybody always hates, but his horse is fast and he's going to go straight to the lead. And if he can hold on, he's got a shot to win it. He was the 2-year-old champion. I don't really think he can hold on to win. I do think he could hold on to hit the board. He's a horse being trained by Baffert. He really works his horses hard, puts a lot of work into them to get them dead fit for a race like this. So he's one of the few horses that I think could withstand a fast pace, which it may be in the Derby, and still have something left in the stretch. If you think back to 2012 when Bodemeister ran that kind of race and just got caught in the last 16th of a mile after basically breaking the heart of all the other speed horses, that would be Citizen Bull's strategy, I think. But for me, it's going to be journalism, sovereignty, and Burnham Square, one of those 3, and you're obligated to make a pick. And if you're Kentuckian in the Derby, so I'm picking journalism. And then for the Kentucky Oaks, I actually like the horses that finished 1-2 in the Ashland. Lacara and Take Charge Milady. I bet Take Charge Milady in the Ashland liked her a lot, and she kind of had to wait a little bit on the turn for home. Once she finally got through, she came running and just came up short. But she's had a little bit of a setback with a foot issue, It makes me a little leery of, that a day or two of missed training time might compromise her chances to win, but Kenny McPeak's trying to win 2 in a row in either the Oaks or the Derby. And so I think if she shows up in the race, then Kenny thinks she's healthy, and I think she would have a shot. But I picked Lacara off how impressive she was in the Ashland and how impressively she's training. And then the other horse would be Good Cheer, who is the heavy favorite. But I'm going to try to beat the heavy favorite with the top 2 out of the Ashland. Quiet Side's the other one that I like out of there. So those would be kind of the top 4 for me in the Oaks. So hopefully gave you at least one winner in there between journalism and Lacara. And by the way, there is a wager. You can bet on just about every angle possible on this weekend. And there's a bet where you can try to pick the winner of the Oaks and the Derby. It's called the Oaks Derby Double. So you could select your winner of the Oaks and put her with your winner for the Derby, and try to cash a 2-day bet. So if you win the Oaks, you got to wait 24 hours to see if you get to cash your bet. But always a great time of year. Great to be with you guys every year for this. And the great thing is that, unlike a weatherman who makes predictions and you get to watch him every night, I figure in 365 days, you'll probably forget who I picked if it's wrong. Good luck.
Just a couple of minutes for questions, so we'll take 2 or 3 if they're quick. Linda.
The Japanese trained horses for the last about 4 years, I think they started at the Breeders' Cup in 21, on the big days in the States and elsewhere around the world, they show up and do well. So I don't have a good feel for them. I'm kind of going, I didn't pick either one of the Japanese-based horses, one of which was by Pharaoh, because everything I read and hear from the people whose opinion I trust is that they don't think this particular duo from Japan is as strong as Forever Young was last year. But Japan horses are doing so well in the big races, you have to think they'll get the Derby at some point.
Yes, sir.
Not for me. And the reason is these are the best horses in the world at this time. And occasionally you'll have a horse that just hates the mud or loves it. I don't know that there's anybody that falls into that category. So I just kind of discount it since it's not having any particular knowledge of a horse that either loves it or hates it.
Last question.
Oh, yeah, Render Judgment, Kenny McPeak's horse. Yeah, Kenny wanted to run in an easier spot. I think it's on Derby Day, either tomorrow or Derby Day, but I think it's on Derby Day. And he's trying to, think of the interest of the owners, and that horse has a better chance to win that race than get any kind of a check out of the Derby. But it's the family of Toby Keith, whose farm owned the horse. He's passed away. They said he always dreamed of getting a horse to a Derby. So if I was in that situation and I had the funds to do it, Matthew Broderick said in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, if you have the means, I highly recommend it. So that way with Derby horses, I'd run in the Derby too. He's not gonna. I would be stunned if he won, but I was stunned when Rich Strike won, so it happens.
Thank you, Tom. Are you going to be around for just a minute if anybody has any questions? Let's give it up to Tom. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And on behalf of the Rotary Club of Lexington, our very own Bill Strauss has made a liquor card for you both. Thank you again. RG, thanks for running Zoom. John Wharton, thanks for the wheel horse. And check out Jim Dunham's on the 5th page, The Living Legend. We are adjourned. Let's see you next Thursday.
This would be good for smacking Bill as well.